Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of the Worthiness Codes. I'm your host, Jaclyn Francis, and as always, it's so beautiful to be in this space with you today. I hope everyone is feeling amazing. We are in another eclipse portal, so hopefully this one is a little easier for you. If things are falling away in your life, allow them to fall away. If things are being divinely guided into your life, allow yourself to receive them. Everything is fated during these times of eclipses, so go with it. Go with the flow, be neutral, and just ride the waves. Ride the waves. And with that being said, a lot of the time within eclipses, relationships either end or they start. And it sparked some inspiration for me for today's episode. So today we're going to be talking about codependency. And first things first, I am not one for labels. I've said this before. I believe labeling something is attaching to a specific narrative. What I believe and the way that I like to view myself, view life, and teach others is that we all hold energies within everything. If you look at your soul, it's incredibly vast, it's incredibly complex. So when we label, we are essentially attaching to a narrative and then looking at ourselves within the light of that narrative, only amplifying the ego and amplifying the story attached to it. So when it comes to labels and when it comes to codependency, I believe, especially as women, we all hold aspects within the energy of codependency. And depending on if this is a lesson that you're meant to learn and to move through, the aspects that will come to surface within the energy of codependency will vary on your own soul's journey, on your own soul's evolution. So I want to first define what codependency is by Google. Codependency is defined as a psychological condition and relationship dynamic where one person sacrifices their own needs for the sake of another, often to detriment of their own well-being. So, as someone who held a lot of codependency traits within my last relationship, I can say that these energies found within codependency are or were part of my soul's journey. They were part of my shadows that ultimately led me to where I am today. And usually, as it was defined by Google, codependency is a element of a relationship dynamic. And my belief is that when we enter relationships, we are entering into a container for ultimate growth. If you allow yourself to view partners or relationships as such, you will then hold the awareness that everything is being mirrored back to you from your partner within the areas that you are meant to work on and meant to grow within. So for me specifically, in my last relationship, I became aware of the energies of codependency. I never was aware of this before. I didn't consider myself to be a codependent. I didn't consider myself to project these energies within any other of my relationships. And I think it was just part of my soul's evolution. In addition, I know now that my last relationship was very karmic because it was the relationship that got me to the other side of my awakening. It got me to the point within my evolution of where I was meant to get to within this lifetime. And though the journey is ongoing and I know my soul will continue to grow and evolve, it got me to the path that I was meant to get to within this lifetime, right? So because being in that container within my last relationship, my partner acted as the amplifier for these energies that I held within myself, rooted in codependency. Now, again, I don't want to attach to labels. I think everyone holds specific traits of all different types of energies. So I am approaching this very delicately because the energy that I am about to mention is one that I think gets thrown around way too often, especially against the masculine. And if you haven't guessed it, that is the energy of narcissism. So, narcissism, defined by Google, is a personality trait or mental health condition that can be characterized by an exaggerated sense of self-importance, a need for admiration, and a lack of empathy. Again, people will hold different levels to these energies depending on where their soul is currently at and where it's meant to evolve to. So my intention is for you not to begin to call your partner or to begin to call other men or other people in your life, it doesn't have to be men, narcissists. There are many layers to this energy, and I have seen this or these patterns very clearly, I believe, because of me moving through the energies of codependency. Now, the reason why I bring up narcissism is because codependents typically attract narcissists within relationships. Okay. And this can be any sort of relationship. It doesn't have to be romantic, but it typically will be in a romantic container because of how intensified that energy is, especially if codependency is an element that you were meant to work through within this lifetime. Now, if you are sitting here and you are identifying as a codependent, or maybe you're becoming aware as being codependent, I want you to know that this is a good thing because it's showing you where your soul is meant to evolve, where your soul is meant to grow, as well as illuminating the patterns of partners and relationships that you may be attracting. So, with that being said, I want you to take a step back. If you are currently in a relationship, I want you to become aware of where your energy is in this relationship. If you are happy within your relationship, then maybe this episode isn't for you. But before you stop it, I want you to see if you're feeling triggered. If you are feeling triggered right now by this episode, hang on, because there is something here that is meant for you to receive. Typically, when we are triggered, it's a subconscious energy that wants to come to surface that we haven't had the courage or the awareness to look at yet. So, though this episode may be triggering and you're feeling kind of icky or agitated by listening to it, allow yourself to listen to it. Allow yourself to listen to it. And maybe you're going to have to revisit it when you feel ready to, but know that if you're being triggered, it's for a very specific reason. So, if you're currently in a relationship where you're happy, I want you to see if any of these elements are bubbling up to surface within your own container. If not, then again, this episode might not be for you. If you're in a relationship where maybe the dynamic isn't the healthiest between the two of you, I want you to receive all of this information, to digest it, to reflect upon it, to see if you are codependent. Women, especially women who are empaths, who are healers, who are spiritual, tend to be codependent because of the softness that comes with it. The feminine is meant to be soft. That is why I feel very strongly that all women hold tendencies of codependency, whether it is at the forefront of their awareness, of their conscious mind, or it is buried deep within them. Again, maybe it hasn't come to surface because it hasn't been triggered, or maybe it's not meant to fully come to surface because it's not a lesson that you're meant to work through. But being codependent is, reflecting on it and reflecting how I was in my last relationship, it was a safety net for me. I put all of my wants, all of my desires aside to support someone else. And I wasn't aligned to my self-worth. I essentially forgot who I was. I forgot what I wanted to do in this lifetime because I thought my partner's needs were more important than mine at the time. This goes back to also what was being projected from him in our relationship and those tendencies and those energies tied to narcissism. It's going to trigger you as a woman to take a back seat, to be more nurturing, which actually sounds crazy. It sounds crazy saying it out loud because typically that would or should push someone away. But I think, again, going back to women who are naturally soft and don't have to dig so deep to get there, there's this component of wanting to nurture, wanting to hold space, wanting to give instead of receive. And the feminine is meant to receive. So it's this big imbalance within the self when you're in a container like this. When you're in the energy of being codependent, again, it's this safety net. Because for me, looking at my experience and where I am now, I knew at the time it was subconscious, but if I were to go all in on myself, I knew my life would change. I knew my life wouldn't look the way it did. And so to put myself on the back burner and just give, my ego was feeling protected from the innate change that I guess she knew was coming, right? So just know that if you're currently feeling or reflecting and looking at your relationship dynamic and feeling like you're giving to someone who maybe isn't giving back to you, to someone who isn't appreciating how much you're doing, it could be a way of you protecting yourself. And I think a good way of measuring this energy within you and maybe why it's showing up is if you're feeling this deep inner call that you're meant for something more. If you feel like you're meant for something more and you sit with that energy and the aspect of fear comes to surface, know that this could very much be a way to protect you from the ego level. Again, because I subconsciously knew I was meant for more, and I knew with that would come immense change within my life, and I wasn't ready for that. So I thought giving everything I had into someone else and putting everything I was and everything I knew I desired and everything I knew I was worthy of and was on a soul level on the back burner, it protected me from actually embodying that and receiving that and coming to terms with the unknown that would come with taking that step to change, right? To taking that step to acknowledge where I was being guided at the time. Now, if you are single, and I'm going to speak from my own experience here as well, this pattern or this, how do I want to phrase this? I wasn't necessarily aware of how codependent I was until well after leaving that relationship dynamic. I started to see just how codependent I was when I was on my own and I sat with all of the elements within the relationship that I didn't like so I can heal from it and so I can break through those patterns. I saw just how codependent my human was being within that relationship and I was never aware of it. So allowing that to come to surface and becoming aware of that, once I started to open myself back up to dating and allowing the masculine to come back into my life, which, side note, has been like far and few between, but the ones that I did interact with and had, a date or a conversation, the energy that was constantly being mirrored back to me was the energy of narcissism. I was constantly receiving narcissists within my field from the masculine in terms of a romantic partner. And I didn't understand why, but something happened. And this, again, was in Bali. I say again because I feel like I've mentioned a lot of breakthrough moments happened in Bali. But I had a friend that I met there after I went on this awful date. It was oh my God. I went on a date. It wasn't even a date because he invited another woman on the date, and it ended up being his friend. And there were three of us sitting on a date. It was I had no words. So I had a friend after she met him and I shared the whole entire evening with her, was like, Jaclyn, you understand, like, he's a narcissist, right? And we had a whole conversation and she helped me bring the awareness to I was attracting all of these narcissists in my life for a very specific reason that I had to work through. And of course, this goes deeper. It's ancestral, yada, yada, yada. There's always layers to it. But I realized that I had to fully break through a layer within my codependency to not receive narcissists anymore. And the layer of codependency that I had to break through was this need that a man has to support me, that I am not capable of supporting myself on my own. And let me be clear. I believe that the masculine is meant to provide financially within the container of a union. But the difference is that a need versus a want. I didn't believe in myself enough to be my own vessel for creating financial abundance, for stepping into wealth financially, to receiving my own money. I still thought that, okay, I need a man to provide that for me, no matter what. And it was within that reflection, I was like, okay, well, this is why I'm still attracting narcissists. And I had to shift that narrative. I had to shift that narrative to believe in myself enough, while also making it very clear that it's not a need, it's a want, it's a desire, because understanding the energy within a union and that the dynamic between masculine and feminine, and understanding that the work I came here to do was very rooted in the feminine, right? This is a want. This is a supportive energy that I desire my partner to be able to provide for me, comes with financial support. So moving through all of that energy and breaking through all of that, have I stopped attracting narcissists? I don't know. I'm actually going to be moving through this as I'm talking to you right now. So this could be interesting. Looking at the men that I have come into my field recently, there are still narcissistic tendencies that are clear as day to me. And where I'm at with this energy right now, I feel is that it's more of a test than a pattern that I am still receiving. And I say that because of the last person I met, I looked at it as, okay, I see this so clearly. Like I see this energy of narcissism being mirrored or projected to me so clearly that I'm not going to allow this into my field. Whereas before that, I didn't see that energy as clearly. So I think I'm done. I hope I'm done. I've communicated to the universe, like, I see this. I no longer accept it. Like, I'm done with these tests. I know my worth. I know what I'm ready for. So of course, it's still about the unfolding, and the universe is always going to give you tests to see if you can actually hold the energy of what's coming through. And this is not a bad thing. The universe doesn't give you test after test to mess with you, to fuck with you. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to see how ready you are to hold the frequency of what's coming through so you don't receive it too soon. Because when you receive it too soon, A, you'll probably self-sabotage in some way. Or B, you won't be able to hold the frequency for as long as intended to. So that's the point of tests. So I feel like we're done, to be continued. But that was interesting. I haven't really sat with that yet. So if you are single and you are identifying right now as being codependent, become aware of the patterns of men that you are attracting. Could they hold narcissistic traits, narcissistic tendencies? And if so, take note of what's coming into your field. Take note of how it's being presented to you and look at the opposite side of that. Where are you leaning into within the energy of codependency? Is it counterbalancing the energy of narcissism that's being presented to you in your field? And then allow yourself to work through that element or that aspect of codependency to break through it. Because that's what you have to do. You have to become aware of the energy first. So become aware of if you're codependent, and then sit with, all of the layers that codependency holds and see what elements are most present within your field. And then take a look at how it's being triggered to you. Because everyone and everything's a mirror, right? The point as to why codependents and narcissists typically enter into union together is because they're going to magnify the opposite energy within. But I think it's a lot harder for narcissists to become aware of what's being mirrored back to them because they're so stuck within their own self, right? So it's not to say that they can't break through that, but I think it's a lot harder of an energy to break through is narcissism versus codependency. So being in this dynamic, it literally is teaching you how to move out of codependency, because the energy of narcissism is magnifying it for you. Okay, so if you allow yourself to become aware of this and you allow yourself to move through it, ultimately it's going to bring you into a place where you reconnect to unconditional self-love, where you reclaim the innate value of self-worth that you have within you. Because typically within these dynamics, right, you may hit rock bottom. You may hit a point where there's nowhere left to go. You can't go lower within the love that you hold for yourself, within the worth that you hold for yourself. You've emptied your cup into this other person, and it comes to a point where it's like, okay, I have nothing else to give. Like, what is happening? And so the only place to go is up. The only place to go is up. So it comes to a point, if you choose to remove yourself from either that relationship dynamic, or if you're single, move through the energy on your own. It's all about pouring unconditional self-love back into yourself, reclaiming your self-worth, knowing that you are worthy of so much more than receiving a narcissist as a partner. So I want you right now, because I know there was a lot of information that was shared. And again, this isn't meant to cause any breakups, but if that's what happens, know that it's part of your soul's journey. And again, if you're feeling really triggered by this episode, that's an invitation for you to sit with whatever's coming up. And please, if you're in a relationship or if you're dating, like, don't start calling the other person a narcissist, because labeling someone as that can do really, really, really big damage to them. And I don't like that. I don't like labels. I really, really, really don't. And I don't want you to beat yourself up if you're feeling codependent. Like, look at it as this beautiful gift. You're being codependent for a reason. In your codependency, it's amplifying the things that you have to work through within yourself and within what you receive in life. So maybe you're not giving back to yourself. Maybe you're not going all in on yourself because you don't believe in yourself enough. Maybe you're giving because you're subconsciously holding yourself back for what you're actually meant for in life. And again, there are so many layers to this. So there could be relationship dynamics where this is really volatile and this is really unhealthy. And both people hold the highest aspects of each of these energies. And if that's the case, don't let yourself fall deeper into that. Don't allow yourself to be victim to that. Know that you are worthy of getting yourself out of that. And at the same time, these dynamics can be on the lesser end of that, holding minimal energies within both and becoming aware of that. Maybe you're able to work through them together by bringing awareness to the energies that are being illuminated within your relationship. And this can be a really great way to cause deep level soul growth within your union as a couple, within the container of your partnership, and also individual growth as well. Right? And of course, if you're single and you're dating, this is a beautiful invitation for you to not attract the same type of partners, the same type of relationships, and to up level, to fully allow yourself to up level, to break through the pattern, to break through the dynamic, while also pouring all the love, all the worth back into yourself, to then maybe discover that you are meant for more. And we all are meant for more. Always, 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 always. But what does that look like? So again, allow yourself to feel into this episode. I want you to come out of this episode feeling a wider sense of self-awareness, being able to really look at yourself and see if you're holding aspects to the energy of codependency, and see where they're being illuminated within you, what those elements are looking like, how they're showing up, and then look at the world around you. Look at what's outside of yourself. What are you attracting? What is constantly being shown to you as a pattern? And get to a place where you no longer accept to be this energy, to hold these energies, to project these energies, as well as to receive these energies, to continue to play out these patterns, right? So I know that was a lot. I hope it was easy for you to digest. I really, really, really invite you to sit with all of this and to be gentle with yourself. Do not judge. Do not hold on to shame or resentment or anger or any of that. Don't be mad at yourself. And most importantly, do not label someone else. Be kind to them, because most of the time people are not even aware of how they're showing up in the world, which is terrifying, but it's the truth. So by you becoming aware of yourself and expanding your self-awareness, you will help others do the same by just illuminating the energy back to them or sitting with them and having a gentle, kind conversation, right? So always be kind, always be gentle, always move from a place of unconditional love. And I know that's easier said than done when you're not in a dynamic that can be volatile. And, the first thing that happens when you try to have a conversation is blows up into a fight. Like, I totally understand that. Been there, done that. No more. But if that happens, that's a huge sign that maybe it's time to separate yourself from that. But again, always move from a place of unconditional love. You don't know what people are going through within their own journey. No matter how well you know someone, they're on their own unique path on a soul level, right? So move from love, be kind. And I think that's all. So I love you. I love you. I love you. Until next time. Bye.